Usually our past shapes our future, and more importantly what we do is also counts in our present. I think the reason how ये तीन शब्द use करते is past, present and future is because the gentleman that is behind me, Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee. Just to know a little more about his life and also his impact in Indian political system. हाच्याबद्दल चल जाणून घेवपाक आमच्या बरोबर आसा Professor Himanshu Roy, Delhi University, Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Senior Fellow, Nehru Meorial Museum and Library, New Delhi. He's joining me live from Delhi. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you
Okay.
for inviting me.
Now, in the next 25 or 27 minutes, odd, we'll try to work on whether history has to be rewritten in present times. Now, my first question, obviously, we're speaking about Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee. I would like your first, your views or your thoughts, just to start this particular program.
See, a man who remained not in much limelight till this government came, or whenever the BJP governments have come, we have found him in limelight, in media discourse. But the Congress governments and other governments didn't put him into much of a limelight, didn't give much of a importance to his significant contributions. Apart from being brilliant students, and we all know that one of the youngest vice chancellors in Indian history at the age of 33, he became a vice chancellor, and a doctor, not a doctor by profession, a medical doctor by profession. His contributions have been minimized by the government or by the governments which were not so conducive to his ideas. He joined politics at an early stage. Significant contribution in minimizing the loss of partition in Bengal and in Punjab as well, because it was Bengal that the similar policies were acceptable by the colonial government and by Congress in 1947 in Punjab. Then his focus on the this 1950 Liaquat Ali Pact, of which time and again, if you look into the recent debates in Parliament where the Home Minister is referring to the Liaquat Ali Pact, Nehru Liaquat Ali Pact of 1950, and the opposition of Syama Prasad Mukherjee to it. And because of it, he resigned from the cabinet. So these are some of his, and of course his death in Jammu and Kashmir. Let's not forget this aspect. And bringing into the limelight the two nishans and the two vidhans, if you remember all these things, significant contribution.
So you have nicely described him in a gist. I think we'll try to elaborate on every single point that we have spoken. Now, starting, I'll take the first cue. That is, if we've referred to the history, what we have been in our education system, what we've learned. There are n number of leaders, but you don't find Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee featuring in those, even if there are very limited resource available. One, in Goa, I will be very frank that the name first time I heard when we had this sports complex been named after him during, of course, BJP regime. That is, I'll be really frank, and I think most of my viewers will also agree that the kind of literature or the kind of knowledge that we have with respect to other leaders is way different than with this gentleman that we had. Now, I want to understand one important thing is. No, I don't know how many people would know this, but obviously he was in Congress first, and then he also served as a minister for industry and supply in Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru's cabinet. Now, again from Congress, then to being a minister, and then to be founding initially the Janta Dal, and then being the poster boy of BJP. How do you see this transition?
You see, Congress at that point of time in 20s, 30s was a movement essentially where even the communists, even the others of different ideology, they joined that movement for the freedom struggle. So it was not a political parties per se, which was more important to the citizens of India or to the people of India, but it was it represented a movement against the colonial rule
Hmm.
in a democratic, peaceful way.
Hmm.
And therefore, people with different ideologies joined it. If you remember, Dr. Hedgewar, he
Hmm.
began with the Congress.
Hmm.
Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee began with the Congress. But let me tell you here,
Hmm.
after the very first year when he contested on the Indian National Congress platform,
Hmm.
uh, he resigned and contested later on as an independent candidate
Hmm.
in the Bengal Legislative
Hmm.
Council
Hmm.
from 1930s onwards.
Hmm.
And for 17, 18 years, he was member of the Bengal Legislative Council.
Hmm.
Then in 47, on the suggestions of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel,
Hmm.
recommending Syama Prasad Mukherjee, uh, he was asked to join the cabinet, the first cabinet of independent
Hmm.
India in
Hmm.
47,
Hmm.
and he joined it as you were rightly pointing out as the Minister of Industry.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, but within a short span of around 3 years, he again resigned,
Hmm.
and the reason was that he disagreed with some of the policies of Nehru, and particularly this Nehru Liaquat Ali Pact in
Hmm.
1950.
Hmm. Okay, sir, taking forward again the Nehru Liaquat Ali Pact, how significant what was it? Obviously, was there a discomfort initially because it was earlier the cabinet, the first cabinet that we had, it was on a consensus basis. Now, after this, maybe there was a discomfort between these two leaders in terms of ideology, one, and also this gave to a birth to a different ideology of politics that evolved, and over this years we have seen how things have shaped up in terms of maybe Bharatiya Janata Dal, and then Bharatiya Janasangh, and then Bharatiya Janata Party.
See, भारतीय जनता पार्टी और भारतीय बीजेडी, भारतीय
Janasangh,
जनसंघ,
yeah.
हाँ, BJS, जनसंघ.
Hmm.
So ideologically they are not different.
Hmm.
Fundamentally, one,
Hmm.
some programs definitely, or the policies which are formulated by any political party,
Hmm.
keeping in mind the changing context.
Hmm.
So but essentially ideologically they are similar.
Hmm.
There is no fundamental difference
Hmm.
between the two
Hmm.
organizations,
Hmm.
because Bharatiya Janasangh, it merged with Janata Party,
Hmm.
if you remember, in
Yeah.
77. And then again, once the Janata Party broke off,
Hmm.
this BJP was formed in 1980 with Atal Bihari Vajpayee as the president of the party.
Hmm.
And then subsequently, we all are aware with the history of the BJP.
Yeah.
But here in 1950, Syama Prasad Mukherjee deliberately felt,
Hmm.
and that this is not the issue
Hmm.
and the agenda to sign a pact with Liaquat Ali Khan, where the Hindus are being evicted from East Pakistan, that is now Bangladesh, and
Hmm.
of course West Pakistan.
Hmm.
And the subsequent development in the last 70 years, we have seen that from 30, 33, 40%, 46% in different regions of Pakistan, whether West Pakistan or East Pakistan.
Hmm.
Now the percentage of non-Muslims, forget about the Hindus, even the Christians, or even Ahmadiyas, or even Shia Muslims,
Hmm.
even Baloch, uh, we know their conditions, and they have been forced to flee.
Hmm.
Either they are forced to convert to Islam, particularly those who are non-Muslims, or they are forced to flee.
Hmm.
Uh, in 1950, when this pact was being signed, uh, one of the reasons for Mukherjee to disagree was that it's the Muslims who have sought for Pakistan. And again, the way they are treating Hindus in the newly created country of Pakistan uh, needs a strict application of the principles of secularism. Why do we create minorities?
Hmm.
We have already given in our constitution
Hmm.
the minority rights.
Hmm.
time and again now minority commission, then minority ministry. You remember when Manmohan Singh was the prime minister, a new ministry was created. Some new religions were put into the minority religions. So instead of making India as one integrated whole, one integrated country, we are perpetuating divisions. We are perpetuating minorities, and based on different religions. And therefore, even this was the logic of his thinking and arguments, that when Jammu Kashmir was given a special status through Article 370, he opposed it tooth and nail, and that ultimately led to his death.
Okay.
So this was an ideological approach to the problem. It was not a one episode or one issue problem. This was not something very episodic.
Correct.
It was an ideological approach to the problems that he viewed India and its neighbors and the policy of the Nehruvian government. And let me tell you that Patel was not in favor of this Liaquat Ali Pact. I know because of my readings on Patel and Nehru, Patel was not in favor of Liaquat Ali Pact. He suggested that don't do it. But even then, Nehru did
Went
it.
ahead, yeah.
And it was Patel who defended, he was forced to or persuaded to defend Nehru. Otherwise, there was a rebellion within the Congress that better let Nehru go. And it was Patel who defended his prime minister in Bengal.
Correct.
Before his death in 1950.
So I want to take this cue of Article 370, and we're speaking about Kashmir as well. Now, obviously, Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee, we all know, opposed this Article 370. You also mentioned it. Now, I want to also understand is one thing, when he made this statement, which is of quite of a historic words that he had said. एक देश में दो विधान, दो प्रधान और दो निशान नहीं चलेंगे. This was again in context to Kashmir being created. Now, decades after, on 5th of August 2019, when the present government, that is BJP government, proposed the constitutional amendment to repeal Article 370. Now, can we say that it was a realization of the founder's dream once upon a time that he had, the fight that they had put decades ago?
Yes, absolutely rightly you said. I agree with it.
Okay.
After 1950 or 52, when it was created, 53 or 56, when it was created, the precise date, I'm not able to remember at this point of time. And in the last 60 years, this has remained, which was even a temporary measure, which should not have been created or inserted into the constitution, but it was inserted as a temporary measure. Nehru himself had gone to London and then requested Patel to put it into the constitution, but it was put despite resistance from Patel as a temporary measure. And the temporary measure is going for 60, 65, 70 years. It should have gone long back.
Correct. But
so definitely when this government came and came with a bang with 303 majority, so tomorrow if it faces its electorate and constituency, the people will ask that you have the majority, you did not abolish this Article 370. So, of course, founding fathers' dream realized. I agree what you said.
So, also I want to understand is when we see Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee in terms of he being now the poster boy, as you rightly said, wherever there is BJP government, obviously he has been celebrated. Wherever there is other governments, it is not. Now we have this rich history to address to him. With BJP government, making shape, obviously there is now you get to do due credit to this gentleman who has worked really hard for the party and to building up towards this ideology.
Definitely, but unfortunately or tragically, he did not survive long.
Yeah.
We do not know what would have been the fate of Bharatiya Janasangh had he survived long. But in order to fight these two kinds of states within Indian Constitution.
Hmm.
And in order to protest, and he went to Kashmir, and there are charges that he was killed.
Hmm.
But then there are explanations that no, it was a heart attack, and
But
maybe
what see I really want to ask this question because in 2004 Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji also made a statement, claimed rather that he was murdered in a something called as Nehru conspiracy. You refer a lot of books, you refer a lot of facts, history books. What is your conclusion?
See, many times the political statement that comes out may be verifiable, may not be verifiable.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, but one thing is definitely there, that he told the doctor
Hmm.
that streptomycin doesn't suit him as an injection for checking the heart attack or for the good health.
Hmm.
And yet he was given that injection, the streptomycin, which ultimately worsened his situation and killed him, or he died out of that injection. So since he had told that this injection is not suitable to his body as per his family doctor, and
Still
yet
he
he
was
was given the same
administered.
medicine. So there are charges that it was conspiratorial, it was given deliberately.
Okay. Now, shifting again back to Goa as a focus, and since this name of the program is Goa Connect, I just want to understand this. BJP today is a way different party than how it was founded. Obviously, it has evolved and evolved in 10 times than the traditional old parties. Maybe you consider Congress or even some of the regional parties that are there for ages now. Today, when you see BJP functioning in terms of ideology, I would like to ask you is how different. You've seen that times also. You have analyzed this times, whether it is the central government that they have or whether it is state governments that you sometimes interact, like maybe a Goa. How do you see this change in paradigm? I would like to ask it in that fashion.
Say, Goa has a small legislative assembly of 40, you know very well. One or two change of majority and minority and can lead to the change of the government. Here, for any political party, it's a question of survival first, because the people do not vote accordingly. If the people of Goa vote for a political party with, say, 21, 22, 23 even majority, so that uh, change or borrowing from other political party may not require, or the alliance or the collaboration with other political parties may not require to run a government. So it's the compulsion to run a government because people are not voting a party with majority number. If the people may vote a party with a majority number, things may change on the ideological platform, particularly in case of the BJP, a party with an ideology and within a cadre.
Now,
But
correct.
having said this, the other side is this, that the Sangh has its hardcore. That remains ideologically intact.
Okay.
There is no fundamental difference. The change is in order to run the government at the political level.
Okay.
And the compulsion is that the people are not able to vote a party with majority number. Therefore,
Okay, we are talking about people. I again want to take this word and say, what is the people's perception when you see Goan politics? Now, I understand completely that obviously when you're contesting maybe 40 seats or maybe 30 seats, it's your ambition to win all and maybe have a majority and put a government that way. Sometimes it is not possible. Sometimes you have alliances with a regional party or with some groups that you have, or maybe take independence. That is a time when you compromise and say this is our common minimum program. Whether it is pre-election tie-up or whether it is post-election alliance, we are completely fine with it. But how do you see Goan politics? Because Goan politics is something that has maybe shaped up the rest of Indian politics. The way you can play around with constitution, the way you can play around with in the assembly well. My very specific questions is, when you see from Congress, shifting all of a sudden into BJP and saying now they are the BJP, I really want to see. Obviously, the Goan viewers might have seen the visuals of they celebrating Syama Prasad Mukherjee's birth anniversary across. And I think, how does a viewer, how does a Goan, how does a voter see this perception being created when you have a celebrated leader like Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee, and then you have an incident that has shaped up Goan politics completely different?
This is pure political opportunism. And this is sheer because the people of Goa are not voting a political party with majority number. Let them try once or twice, and the things may gradually change. Since there is a political opportunism that the MLAs shift their allegiance according to the party in power, both at the center or at the states. And Rohit, unfortunately, the tragic part is not only with Goa in terms of political perception of the electorate or the people or the government. This is happening in most of the states in India, which are a smaller number in assemblies. Say 40, 21, 60, etc., etc. And even if you have particularly in a smaller assemblies with a lesser strength, unless you give a political party with a very crystal clear majority strength, this kind of trend will continue. We have seen it in Northeast.
Correct.
Where in Meghalaya, we find political parties keep on changing alliances, formations, etc., keep on developing. And similar is the case with Goa as well.
Okay, one final question before I end up this show is, Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee's birth anniversary is today on 6th of July. I usually would have asked you, what is your message on behalf of his life to all the viewers. I want to ask you, what is your message on behalf of this day to all the new people or politicians that have joined BJP? That they should learn something about the history of BJP. What would be that particular message?
Let this government run according to the ideals of Syama Prasad Mukherjee, according to the ideals of Bharatiya Jansangh, and according to the ideals of the BJP. I'm talking about the ideals, not the opportunistic politics that political parties and the MLAs do and pursue for their personal career rather than for the welfare of the people and the state.
I think, sir, last time when we had met, we were speaking about Nehru, and I think I want to end this program on Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee with those lines that we had discussed, ki ajeeb hai Goa ke log. And I think ajeeb hai Goa ka politics. I would want to end this particular program on that note, sir. Professor Himanshu Roy, thank you very much for joining and sharing this candid chat on his life that, the BJP celebrates, obviously. And obviously, as a citizen of India, we should all know about the history and also identify
Rohit, can
the
I
leaders.
intervene
Yes,
here?
yes, please, sir.
You may feel that ajeeb hai Goa ke log, but जो लोग गोवा के बाहर के हैं उनसे आप बात करके देखो कि कितने अच्छे हैं गोवा के लोग.
I think being a Goan, Goan who votes, I think I will take it as ajeeb hai Goa ke log. Ajeeb hai Goa ka politics. I would end that show on this particular note. So thank you very much for joining from Delhi and sharing this valuable thoughts of yours. Pleasure it was, sir.
Okay.
वेल हे असले प्रोफेसर हिमांशु रॉय उलयताले आमकां डॉक्टर श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी हांच्या बद्दल ताची बर्थ एनिवर्सरी आयज आमी सेलिब्रेट करता 6th of July. तांचे आयडियोलॉजी बद्दल चड जाणून घेतले, तांच्या अर्ली लायफा बद्दल चड जाणून घेतले आनी कितको इम्पॉर्टंट आसा हो मनीस इन टर्म्स ऑफ पॉलिटिकल फिगर, पॉलिटिकल आयडियोलॉजी. म्हाका दिसता सगळ्यांनी आमी गोंयांत डॉक्टर श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी हें नांव आयकलां, बट म्हाका दिसता खंय तरी तांच्या बद्दल चड जाणून घेवपाचो प्रयत्न ह्या कार्यक्रमाच्या माध्यमांतल्यान केलो. आनी ऑब्वियसली तुमकां जर चड आनीक जाणून घेवपाच्या, डेफिनेटली there is a lot of literature available on social media. You can always go visit and learn about the gentleman and try to incorporate a little of his ideology into. And more importantly, I don't know how much the ideology will be used by our politicians who have jumped ship, but that's something that we need to answer. आम्ही असेच आणि वेगवेगळे प्रोग्राम तुमच्या मुखार घेऊन येतले. तोपर्यंत पळयत रावात प्रुडंट.